Joining us right now live from Des Moines, Iowa, Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue. And Mr. Secretary, thank you for your time.
Good morning, guys.
So now we know a little bit more about how this money is going to be distributed. Can you fill us in and tell us what the details are?
Yeah, there are three components to the mitigation payments. One of them is a market facilitation loan. Those are primarily for our program crops like corn, soybeans, sorghum, wheat, and actually some pork and dairy in there as well. The second part is a market procurement and distribution program. That's buying commodities that don't have a natural market and a futures determination in that way. And then thirdly is really a fund to look for other markets, to help the industry grow other markets internationally. So it's really three tranches.
I know that farmers have been very concerned as their markets have really gotten hit hard. They've borne the brunt of it to this point. And I know that as a result, some of the money is going to be very targeted, especially to soybean farmers. I think something like $3.6 billion of it will target those farmers. Is that because they've been hardest hit?
It is. Well, the way we calculated this market disruption trade mitigation payments were really affected by the tariffs. And a lot of people see a disparity between soybeans and corn. Corn was not affected by the tariffs that much. We've got a good corn crop coming on and low prices, as everyone knows, but we had low prices before the trade disruptions there. But soybeans, China being the primary soybean customer, are affected directly by those tariffs, and that's why you see most of the money being directed towards soybeans. So
how does a farmer actually get money back into their pockets? Is this a situation where you have to prove that you're at a loss, or what kind of receipts do you show up with? What kind of proof?
Yes, what will happen is our producers will go to the Farm Service Agency. They can begin next week after Labor Day and come in and file for their payment. And they do have to approve their yield. It's going to be based on actual production, not on any kind of average production at all. It's going to be individual by farmer. They'll come into our Farm Service Agencies where they always report their crops. They're very familiar with that process, and they will file for the mitigation payments there. And then regarding the procurement, we will work with the industry producers in those categories of others to buy their crops, take them off the market, and support the prices, redistributing those to food banks and our school and lunch programs.
Is the hope to make the farmers whole, or just make it so that it's not a disastrous season for them?
I think the second, really. There was no way really to make farmers whole. They're under a lot of duress and pressure right now, from dairies to others. There are a lot of distress out there, a lot of low income. Farm prices having been down 50% over the last 5 years. So they're under a lot of pressure that way. There's no way. It's like any insurance program.
I mean, if you're going back 5 years, that predates the tariffs, too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what we're saying. So the tariffs on top of the low commodity prices already was kind of a double whammy. But no, there's no ability to make farmers whole in this regard. And we just tried to calculate the mitigation efforts based on the tariff disruption there for farmers.
Fortune had an article that kind of pointed out what some of the farmers are saying is they want trade, not aid. They want these trade deals finalized, they want clarity, and they want to be able to plan and prepare for next year's crops. Can you give them that?
Well, the good news is I think the president gave them that this last just a couple of days ago with the renewed NAFTA agreement. And I think that's his plan been all along, is to, everybody wants trade, not aid. There's not a farmer in America that would rather not have a good crop at a fair price than a government check. That's what they do. That's what they put their equity on the line every year for.
But NAFTA is one thing. Even if we do get a finalized agreement that would include Canada, that wouldn't take care of soybeans, because China's the big issue there, and that looks like a much tougher negotiation to tackle.
Absolutely, but you have to do these one at a time. We think the Mexican agreement, hopefully Canada will come along very, very soon, and then we'll begin to work on, as the president already announced, working on EU as well as China, and put these things back together. The president's intention is to have a fair and level playing field. China has not played fair since they've been in the WTO, and everyone acknowledges that.
The farmers, I think, are bearing the brunt of some of these early negotiations, but they're not the only ones who have been hurt. We've had reporters who have kind of fanned out and looked at stories around the country, whether that be in Pennsylvania, where they're making beer kegs right here in America, or whether that be in Maine, where the lobsters are coming in. Lobster fishermen have gotten hit pretty hard, too, because China has lowered the tariffs for Canada, which is kind of a dual whammy that they're facing there. What happens to some of those who don't qualify for these particular aid grants?
Well, I've been to the Northeast and I've talked to the fishermen up there, and we're very cognizant of that fact. The reason this works is this is already in statute and law, and the ability to use in the agricultural programs to support our farmers. They've been disproportionately hit. The farmers have been, and that's because they've been productive. They depend on over 20% of their product is exported. They've helped to feed the world for years now. And we knew early on, the president knew that our farmers would bear the brunt of this unfortunate, disproportionate retaliatory effort.
Okay. Agriculture Secretary Perdue, we want to thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Becky.
And let us know what's happening as this program begins too, please.
Will do. Thank you.